In order to achieve excellence, really in any area of operations, safety being one of them, we need discretionary effort. It's more than just a culture of have to. We want that culture of want to. And that's at all areas of the organization. We need discretionary effort from executives. We need discretionary funding. We need discretionary effort and time from management, and of course, the workforce and contractors. So if we want that last frontier of excellence and safety, people have to want to give more of themselves. And when you look at some of the things that have happened over the last several years, when you look at the engagement scores, how they've declined, and even with remote workers and their connection to the purpose of the organization, which is one of the relationships, there's really an opportunity to try to get more out of people by doing so through relationships. And the relationships people have with the different people that they work with inside and outside of the organization is absolutely critical. Dan Pink wrote that book, Drive, several years ago, which is a fantastic book. And then there he said that if you really want to build motivation within people, because motivation's intrinsic, you can't motivate another human being. We need to foster autonomy. We need to make sure that they can develop a sense of mastery and that they see purpose. And that's where I really want to begin. And that's purpose of the organization. That's one of the first relationships. Are people bought into why the organization exists, what we're trying to provide in products and services? Is it something that they're passionate about? The next one then is the purpose of the objective. If we want to achieve excellence in safety, people need to understand the why behind this. If you look at what triggers people to resist change, and change is the only thing constant in most organizations, there are three things that tend to trigger this. One is they don't really understand the need for the change. So what's the purpose of achieving safety excellence? Aren't we good enough? And the old trap of we haven't had any injuries in years, aren't we good enough? Certainly the absence of injuries does not indicate the presence of safety or the capacity to be great in safety. So number one, they don't really understand it. Number two, they don't like who's bringing the change, which is a trust issue. Number three, they don't like the change itself. So people have to be able to see themselves, and this is why we're doing this. And in order to be excellent in safety, we need to be strategic about it. And being strategic means we're focusing on the right things. So people, again, have to see the purpose of it, but also people have to see the value and in what we're focusing on. If they don't see the value, they're not going to give their extra time. And when I look at why leaders aren't investing in further efforts in safety, or why we're not getting more out of the workforce to go above and beyond, it's because they don't see the value in the things that we're doing. So if they don't see the purpose of the objective, we're going to get compliance behavior. We're going to get the minimal necessary. We also want them to have a relationship with the purpose of the work, going back to Dan Pink's research and findings. But even further, there was a great bit of research that turned into a book 10, 11 years ago that looked into what's the most effective motivator at work. A lot of people think money is one of the first things, which has a very short staying power as far as what it does for intrinsic motivation. So they had thousands of people keeping a journal documenting, pardon me, what they were doing when they felt the most motivated, and also what they were doing when they felt the most demotivated. And the overwhelming conclusion, it turned out, the most effective motivator at work was visible progress towards the goal. So can we show people progress towards the objective? And of course, if the objective in safety excellence is to fail less, you can't really see progress towards that. So people have to have a strong relationship with what they're doing to contribute to what we're trying to accomplish. And of course, the work that they're doing, are they passionate about the work? So can management, can first line supervisors, can they help people see that what they're doing is contributing to this greater outcome? Then the next relationship is the person that you report to, your boss. The old saying that people don't quit companies, they quit their boss. So how are we establishing a relationship there? I've just finished writing my next book, and it's called Shared Ownership. And the whole purpose of it is, if you want to tap into this level of discretionary effort, you have to realize that it can only be done subcultures at a time. And every organization has subcultures. Typically, we think of them being defined by interest groups, what people are passionate about, how they identify as themselves, and the things that are important to them. But every organization has the potential for subcultures based on how many frontline supervisors do you have. That has at least the potential for the different subcultures, how that individual boss is leading things. So this has become so important over the last few years, and especially so that supervisors aren't being out as often as they can because so much is being put on them. And we've long said for years in our company, the most important person to shape performance and culture within an organization are typically the most undertrained, under-resourced, and underutilized individual, and that's that frontline supervisor. So the relationship that an employee has with their frontline supervisor, if that supervisor hasn't taken the time to get to know the people that report to them, and that's one of the other relationships is the people that report to you. If the supervisor hasn't taken that time, you're not going to get the best out of people. And a thought exercise I do sometimes in some of the workshops that we lead is I'll ask people if they're people leaders, I'll ask them to think of 3 people that report to them. I'll ask them to think of their faces, think of their names, and then I ask them not to respond in any way, but can they name the family members of the people that report to them? And if they can, maybe they've created the impression within those individuals that they really care about them. And if they can't, maybe unintentionally, they've created the impression that they don't care. And if we want that strong relationship, we need to feel as though the people that we report to and the people that are below us, that's where the criticality is in these relationships. And then the final one is the peers. And Gallup has even said in their Q12 survey, do I have a best friend at work? So what are we doing to create that relationship between peers? Because people are less likely to sabotage things, to do terrible things, but even to call in sick when they're not sick, if they know that they're going to be compromising their good friends at work as well. So in summary, those 6 relationships are the purpose of the organization, the purpose of the objective, the performance of the work, the person you report to, the people that report to you, and of course the peers. Those 6 relationships, one at a time, have to be fostered if excellence in any category of operations is to be our reality.